I'm so glad you guys are here. My name is Jay Song. Everything in today's video is never financial, investment, or trading advice of any kind. Everything's just for entertainment, educational, and comedic purposes only. I eat red crayons for breakfast. Trading the markets carries a substantial risk. Never trade more than you can afford to lose, and especially be aware against high leverage trading. Past performance is never indicative of future performance. All right. Okay, I'm going to put a few places on the board for this crypto. First one, we're going to begin with something called QUBIC. And in QUBIC, I see we're in a territory of weakness. You can see that price has moved up like this, and then we've round on the underside. This is what we're talking about when you see those weaknesses. I don't trust breakouts generally from these areas unless the down move is also broken. So in this down move, we would draw two lines, but primarily the top line is going to give us a clue about what's actually happening. And in this case, if we were to draw it only from the core, you can see it would break up, but we're coming back here. Something else is happening. The clue that we have for this line is actually a big one, and that is the shape of the foundational area. So if we're in a down move, if we're here, how did we get there? If you look very carefully, you can see that it's actually a curved shape, and that gives away a lot of the type of foundational move we're going to be looking. Does that make sense? So when you see those shapes, don't be afraid to draw both of the contingencies, both options that you're going to find. So we can see it should be something like maybe a curved shape. Now, on a one-day chart, that might be more appropriate. If you see it, don't be afraid to zoom in one time frame or out another time frame. If I'm at 3, I can go to a daily or even a 12-hour. And then if you're on a 3, you can also go to a weekly. All right, so here we can extract that shape a little bit more thoughtfully as we're here. And so we would be looking more at shape, something like if we were calculating the curvature somewhere over here. And you can see that we hit there approximately in October 5th. Now, once we hit and reject, don't be afraid to adjust your angle, and you're going to have a much more proper angle. Did I say anger? If you guys want anger, you guys can too. All right, so let's go back to these things. I'm going to go back to a 3-day chart. But that's about the angle. Don't get anger at me. Everybody has an angle. What's your angle, buddy? What's your angle? I also think this might be a little bit of noise. It might be part of a dipper oscillation since I'm hitting exactly here. You can see when price stops respecting price, but it's still respecting the line, that tells you something. It's a bit of a clue for an oscillation that's deeper. So again, what I'm actually looking at here is a bounce round, and this is also constitutes a larger round structure. But one of the things that we also see is the underside being respected. So the line is being disrespected by the fact that it's playing on both sides, but it respected at the same time. So when you see respect and disrespect at the same time, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to project the DP if you find it. So if I see, hey, this line is still right, take that angle. We had a lesson about this a long time ago. It's called, when we talked about, it was DPs. And then we also have a lesson specifically about this in mid-phantom transformation and sword method 5.0. So in our 5.0 series, we did a filming about mid-phantom transformation. So that's how you'd want to approach that one. All right. So what I would do is you take the angle from your center line. So basically it's the key angle is in the middle and you have two phantoms. And then we can label it on the left if you guys want to, just so you can see what I'm talking about. And then therefore this top becomes a phantom angle, and it's something worth paying attention to. And also the bottom becomes an angle. So we'll just do that quickly and then we'll move on. So I have two phantoms, a phantom here, which we'd place in with no further verification. And now we're broken to the top side. How we're going to do this is once you have one side, you take a measuring line to that distance, and you duplicate or bring down the measuring line, and then you can click this other in place. Now what that would do for me in this situation is it would allow me to look into this area as being the potential phantom slash DP of this distance. So we can write phantom slash DP, which is duplicate projection. So PA slash DP, and then now I have a price and an angle by which to look for that price. So I don't care about the price. I care about the angle because sometimes the angle is really sharp and that price is going to keep going down as time goes on. In this case, if it was around January, the bottom might be for this crypto 6033. So that's how I would do something like this, the 6033. So far, we're left with an image that looks a lot like that. Second, and finally, what we're going to do is we're going to look just quickly at the volume, and you can see a few things. You can see that there was selling Here you can see our high up bars, up moves into the weakness area sometime in January, and that was weaknesses showing displaying in December. Here we can see the high volume down bars, down moves, but the move is into health, and that's going to indicate some small health that is arising. So you can see it would look something like this: small selling, and then the next one would be small buying on with an up arrow. Small buying. And there's our short-term down move. There's your health. If you were drawing healths, they might look something like this. But in practicality, that's how you'd use this in real life. Now, at the time, you wouldn't know if that was more dumping after the fact. It's on the bottom. It might be some buying. It might be more selling if it happens on an up move. But where's the real weakness? We'd be really far from that weakness. But maybe there would be something there. You only know it in context. So once the health comes, then we read the context. Where in health, we moved up and to the right. So the volume, therefore, now is the word is finished. Just like a letter in a word, the vowels at the end of a sentence like tote, T-O-T-E, can mean the word taught. But if you add an E at the end, it's the word tote, and it becomes a different word. Okay, taught, something you eat, tater tot, or a child. And tote, meaning something you carry, like a tote bag of this type. Okay, let's look some more. We didn't have too much heavy selling here, but we may have had some start of that selling here. A little bit of higher volume on these days. Let's go to a 3-day chart to kind of smooth that out. Okay, and there's going to be our last small selling. And that's just going to be some profit taking. We know this because of the next. Oh, sorry, this was a health, not weakness. Okay, and then the next one was a weakness over here. All right, I'm almost done with this one. Does anybody have any questions, comments, thoughts regarding QUBIC? Okay. Now, I want to point something out while you guys are thinking of any questions you might ask. If it's possible that the bulk of the DP or the bulk of the oscillation is here, this becomes what we know as hidden battle. We have a special lesson in this on the 5.0 series called Hidden Battler. Hidden Battler has a lot to do with two main points. Two main points become very paramount and important at DP. Number one, the point where we first crossed into that area of exception. Okay, this would be basically an exception to the rule in this. So if we ever get back to those areas, this area becomes support, which this one's already done. It's already support. And the other area that would be support is going to be this area. And so right now, this would be our HB2. This would be HB1, and that would be HB2. Okay, this one, if we were listing it. So I'm going to put both of those on the board just so you can see them for your reference. So when we moved past this area, it was a very important area for us. Right here, we shouldn't be trading underneath. That would have been a sign of weakness. So we could have put a smaller weakness there if we wanted to. I'm just going to put one there for your reference and just fade it away. We don't need a border on here. And I'm going to label this HB2 right there. HB2, and I'm going to put the price at 6Z for 6 zeros, 74. Oh, sorry, the average, I'm going to give you the average, 23. 6Z, 23. So that's a lot of zeros. All right. And left, bottom. Now, the next thing we're going to have is currently today. So as it is right now, I would say the reason I really brought that up is I think this is an area of weakness. If we continue to bounce in these areas, I would be looking for this to be a resistance for us. But the territory currently that it is right now, it is a weakness area. The price for today still staying underneath that 6 zeros 23 area on average. Well, that's not 6 zeros 23, is it? 6 zeros 715 average. Why did I get 23? I must have read that wrong. Okay, yeah, 723. Okay, that's better. So about right there. Okay. Now that we have such a strong foundational area, I'm going to just focus on health, and I'm going to say, nope, there's no health. There's no reason to trade this anytime soon. We're still well within all of these territories. And I would just stay away from it from right now, unless I have a reason to buy. Do I have any other questions for me regarding this crypto so far? I only have just a few more things I'm going to place on this map before a real strong health would probably come into this. I'll hide my screen. You guys can see what I'm doing here, or I'll show you guys that. Okay, I'm going to draw event line, which is going to be an important, or supposed to be an important support, and it's going to make a more bearish case in this example. So our event line would be up here, and we'll click it in place on the bottom, and it's going to make for a smaller health coming up. Okay, so this event hasn't been hit. All right, and the support for that event line can also help us find a nice bounce. Coming up right now, it's 6053. So possible option would be a bounce in this area. Possible breakout would be up here. None of those are on the board. I don't think that's on the board right now. And then what's more appropriate is a breakdown down here and a move to there. Those are going to be about the possible options you'd be looking at. Okay. All right, so I don't really think I see any questions in the chat regarding these things. So I think I'll leave that alone for right now. All right, QUBIC. Oh, and yeah. Weakness territory. Next supports near 6053 and above 0.723 for health. Okay, so I want to be above 60723 for health. All right, let's go to the next one, FCX. So this is a stock. Okay, I think this is a stock. Yeah. Okay, so we'll look at it on the NYSE. So FCX, NYSE, Freeport McRoran Incorporated. Good. Oh, good. Okay. Let's go to I got enough candles. I'm going to start with a monthly chart for this one. And that's the reason I make that decision is based on just a rough estimate of how many candles and if the candles make sense. All right, some good structures that we can draw. Let's make sure we calculate for some of these. All right. We'll bring down the angle at the core for wick match, and it's going to give us this range. And you could think a lot in terms of range when you're doing our art. I got a multi-touch top here, so I'm going to be using that. Let's give ourselves a strong flat, and you can see that we hit here nicely in June. So our breakout, be easy to see that a breakout above those areas is really what would be needed for a strong up move. Now this looks like it's trying to hover near the top. One thing I learned, if you're not rejecting in the areas that you should be rejecting in, if you're not going down when you're supposed to be going down, that's often a sign that something bigger and deeper is happening that might be a sign of actual health. So if I see that price fails to go down in the appropriate time, don't be afraid to exit your short positions if things are taking too long, until things are clear again. Check the volume, check what you're looking at, check your up moves, hunt those moves more appropriately and things like that. Because sometimes what you'll see is when price hovers, sometimes you'll have a challenge to the upside. And to do that, we're going to primarily weigh the volume at these areas. It's going to give us a higher degree of probability. So let's look at the volume. I'm going to be looking for an increase of volume at A, B, C, and D. So we'll give ourselves these quick letters. So we're going to be looking for high volume on the up moves, primarily showing us that there's still a lot of volume, a lot of people willing to pay a high price. So here we see a very high volume, but where it's on the bottom side. So that means there's buyers still coming in. We see a lot of high volume on the buyers on the down moves into health. Now both of those moves are into health. The first one's into a short health, very sharp, and the other is going to be much more longer in November of 2016. So this is a stock that has long-term buyers. Now, if you see buying taking place, here's in December 28, And we also see in March of 2018, where did they take profit? What you're going to be wanting to see is high volume up bars, and we really don't see a lot of high volume up bars way back when. So we see that there's still a lot of players willing to play this game. So the large buyers may still be in position. We'd want to see an offset. In addition to that, we see an increase in this area in volume. You guys can see, and it's here. So we have buying, and all of those binds into health. So here's going to be that first health right there. Here's going to be the next health right here, and here's going to be another health here. So all of these peaks at the volume area is going to say to us, ooh, as you can see, that big money is coming in to this stock. And then we want to see profit taking or resistance here, but instead we see low or no demand. Now with buying in the background, that's actually a good thing. That's actually a good thing. It means there's not much supply that's here. That means that there may be sometimes this lack of interest is not going to get us very far, but we want to look at that and break that apart in there. So it's not the worst thing in the world. In addition, I don't have heavy selling that I can really compare this to. So if I was looking near these tops, I'm going to be looking at this volume, and I want to show you guys more appropriately. It's this volume right here rather than that ultra high volume that was done on the bottom side. So we compare that area, that would be B. It's about equal volume. And then we still have some high volume, so the volume's still equal in these three. So for the sellers, calculating any sellers, we just see a lot of supply in here, and that's a good sign for continuation. Especially now we're challenging again, and we see higher volume. Normally, high volume has to happen on the selling side, which is again into weakness. So we would say, if we're only looking close, we'd say, oh, look, they're selling because it's happening on this up move here into the weakness. Yes, but in context, we're actually higher than those. So I'm just going to quickly mark those areas and denote them on your screen. So this area is compared to here and here. Oops, sorry, right there. And here. So those for sellers, we're going to calculate A, B, and C, but we also calculate for the buyers. So now I'm going to write them all down on a screen so you guys can just quickly see them and have them at a glance. So let's take them one by one for their micro and for their macro. So arrow, large buyers entering, or LBE. How about that? Okay, let's put some more large buyers here, and we're going to have large buyers here. So large buyers. Now this combined with lack of profit taking is a good sign. Let's put this for the stock. We're going to just put a little call out. These three areas combined with lack of selling, with lack of large profit taking, is great long term. So if I was betting and I had to bet on some stocks, already this one has my attention because large players are in this. Does it make sense? Okay, so I would look at this as these energy centers with moves, down moves into health, that would tell me what it was that I was looking at. Okay, everybody got that? So that's the buyers. This is where the money starts coming in. Okay, that's where the big money comes in. When you're determining stocks that are going to do you well over the years, or even short term, if you see it short term, but especially long term, you know those stocks have a higher degree of probability to move up because you're playing against large players. So we see big players coming in and they're not taking heavy profit. So here's where they'd want to take profit. At the tops, look at the volume. Where are they really getting out? Okay, you can say, man, yeah, maybe they got out here, but look what they did next to it. They got right back in. Okay, at a low. So this is what's actually happening. Okay, so we're calculating for these versus sometimes these. Okay, sometimes those. In this case, it's not that powerful, but it is equal to volume. So now let's write down those sellers. Okay, selling pressure, selling volume, remaining selling volume. All right, and then I'll put a little call out for that. So of these three, and I should say smaller selling for the context. It's smaller selling volume. Yeah. Let's write this down now. These areas remain consistent. This is equal to volume in the legend that I give you guys. This is equal to volume described in the VSA legend. Okay, you guys remember the VSA legend? It's the one where I talk about absorption of supply in a volume zone block, and I write 1, 2, 3, and that's the symbols. They're equal to. Remember, 1 for absorption of supply, successful absorption of supply, and control. For successful, you need to have a decrease in volume. 2, aggregately low volume, and 3, no demand. Okay, so aggregately low / low demand, or no demand for number 3. So that's the legend I always give everybody when I'm doing this kind of stuff. And then for a scenario that does not have absorption, that would look like this, / control. If it does not have that, then what we look for is these 3. 1, 2, 3. We look for increase in volume, aggregately high, and we look for, aggregately high and equal to volume. So increase, aggregately high, and equal to. So all of these tell a story of absorption not being controlled. So we see in this example equal to volume for these areas, for the sellers. So when we're calculating, we can see the volume still equal. That's the relationship between those, between this and that. They're just equal to volume. So I'll take a quick picture for your reference. And that tells us that the sellers have not won. Okay, this is what it means. This means sellers are not winning. All right, so let's put the 2 and 2 together. So we see a scenario for a stock that looks like this. We see, in conclusion of these 2 areas, buyers winning and sellers not winning. We see in this scenario a situation long term, because it's on a monthly chart, long term, where buyers are winning and sellers are not winning. Now sometimes you'll see them winning as well, and then you got a back and forth, which is what's been happening more smaller term, some of the consolidation. But in the larger context, the sellers are still equal to volume, so they're still fighting a lot of these buyers, and we're now hovering too long into the weakness. That's a sign of actual health and strength. Nice. In addition, the sellers, the price is in a weakness area, but refusing to fall. This is a bullish sign of strength. So this is a very good lesson. Maybe we should add this to our lessons page so you guys can learn some of this. All right, so I would be walking away from this with something that looks like a more higher probability of strength or upward movement. This creates a more bullish probability on this chart. This is monthly, therefore very long term. Okay, very long term. Okay. All right. So we got most of what you need to know about this stock. I would be looking at this stock to break to the high side. And now more locally, we have one final move, and that's what I did not give you guys or finish giving you guys. And that's going to be this last up move. Let me put this date here first for you guys. December 17th, okay, 2025. On Wednesdays, I like to slow things down so you guys can see what it is I'm actually doing. But one of the things you're going to notice is that we have very high volume on the up move here. Okay, so you're saying, well, Jae-Sung, see, you said Remember, if we see up volume into an area of weakness, yes, I know. But in context, the context of the word is changed. Jae-sung, you said an E makes an eh sound. Eh. Yes, but it also stresses the vowels, and an E can also sound like an E sound. All right? An A can sound like an A sound, like tap or tape. If you add an E at the end of the TAP, the tap on the table now means something completely different, right? Because it changes the context. When you have more context, you have to re-examine the vowel in any language. Volume spread analysis is also a language. We saw that we didn't go down when we were supposed to go into the weakness. All we're doing is hovering here and challenging. But at the challenge, the volume is now increasing. So we can see something very interesting happen. The volume is not going away. It's actually increasing at these areas. So this is equal to, and then there is going to be our increase. Let me take a screenshot so you guys can see what I'm showing you with the crayon. Okay, so green. This changes the context. So if you're watching this, we now are going to examine this section and this section, which is basically today. Okay, or not today, but right here. Yeah. Okay, so you can say, Jae-sung, there is weakness, yes, but there's still a lot of bullish behavior. Okay, because the volume is increasing. So here's about equal to volume, and then there is going to be our increase. And remember, increase falls under the category of absorption and control of this not winning. Okay, that's a scenario when we see increase. That means absorption and control is not taking place. Equal to volume. And number 3, aggregately high. So overall, it's still very high. So in this case, we see these two parts of the absorption and control. So that means that sellers, since we're calculating for sellers, are not winning. Okay. And I'll put this right there on the text. And then we'll move on, okay? Anybody have any other questions? What we're examining, breaking down here. December 19th, 17th, 2025. By the way, I'm going to be going on vacation next week. There will be on Wednesday and Monday. There won't be WordRoom this Sunday, but there is ChartRoom Saturday, yeah, because of our transit. All right. And then there's WordRoom on Sunday when we get back. Thank you. Here I'm going to put the words. In this context, in this example, normally the weakness would be viewed selling or reviewed as important for a bearish move. But we can see, even if we calculate for sellers, the supply keeps increasing as shown in the volume. So the supply keeps increasing as shown in the volume. It means absorption / control have not completed. The increase shows we may break to the upside. This matches the larger monthly analysis. Okay, so now we're putting it all together and we can see what it's telling us, that it's telling us the same story over and over again. If you start getting this, pay attention to your data because it's going to serve you very well. Okay, so we can see that's what's actually occurring. So absorption has not taken place. All right, I'm going to put a little call out here. So if it doesn't happen when it's supposed to happen, or as it's happening into those weakness, and you keep seeing, it makes a stronger likelihood it's going to break to the upside rather than come down. So this makes a bullish breakout more probable during these seasons? Now, this is a monthly chart type move, so this can take this could take a year or whatever. It's a little too long for my cup of tea. For those who are like, yeah, I'm looking for a long-term stock right now that's probably going to have a breakout. This will probably be your cup of tea. Okay? All right. Okay. Now, I think that's all I want to say about this stock. Any other questions currently right now? I think we're getting very high for this stock. I think this stock is going to make a lot of money. I think you're getting really high. I think you're going to be up there. I think we're going to DP this projection, this oscillation, and I think you're going to be somewhere here. So we'll do that just this fast. All right. So the DP for this one is closer to high of $939, low of $757. Current price is $47. So it is very much within its realm of possibility to DP. That we see prices DP all the time. This has built a large base. I think you're going to be seeing the stock go up a very high percentage, closer to 1,000%. I wouldn't be surprised if this moves over 1,000% in the future sometime. Okay. All right. Anyone else? Me. Large accumulation stock likely to break to the bullish side. Okay. In conclusion, this is a high accumulated stock with a high bullish breakout probability that has not occurred. It occurs above, and the prices are primarily 62. It may occur above 62. Current price is 47. Okay, so I would wait till we get there above 40, the 60s, and then I would strike, and you're probably going to see it make a mad dash to a very high number that will seem like it comes out of normal. I think people are going to be like, what? Why did we come this high? I think it's going to make a mad dash to there. Okay. Now we can break to the bottom side. I don't think that's going to be the case. If we do break to the bottom side, I'd be looking for shorts at sword cut, an old sword cut here. So I'll just draw that support for you. It's a very low support. The first one is going to be at $17, current price 47, and then also the oscillation, which is the current oscillation, would be a bottom as well, and that's going to be there at 27. So you got some safety nets, but they're deep. Again, not my cup of tea. I wouldn't buy it until we get a breakout first. All right, I'm more in the camp where we're going to get to a breakout. Let's move on. Okay, I'm going to do some more cryptos. Long-term bullish stock, large accumulation. Let's look at another stock today. Let's go to WM, requested by Jeff, Waste Management. This one we've talked about a lot, so we don't really need to spend too much time on this one. We can see we're still in a large bullish trend, hunting those down moves in a bullish trend until weakness fully appears. I said bullish chart, December 8th, short-term weakness, possibly down towards 203 due to weakness. Let's go to the shorter time frames for this one. All right. There's short-term possibly toward 203 weaknesses appearing. We are in this area right here. This is our first of our weakness in September. And what we don't want, actually I can go to a daily chart maybe. Okay, what we don't want is we didn't want to be under here. If we're going to be bullish, we need to be above here and we need to be above there. So the numbers I gave were 216 and 223. So that's our big foundational area. Now the 223 primarily shows up, I think, on the weekly chart. Yeah. So this is where I want to start being more bullish. And this is where I got to be a little bit more realistic about what I'm looking at. There, we still may be playing underneath these areas, and this is a little bit of a delay territory. So the analysis I gave last time have a lot to do with this delay territory. It's the same for WM. So I'm going to be looking for this to waste my time to be bearish, or waste my time. Now, if I see a high volume up bar in the smaller time frame, I'm going to be looking at that more as a dumping after the fact. Otherwise, if we get a nice large up bar into the green up here, I'm going to be looking at that as pushing. But in the context, we don't know what it is so far. So let's see if we can spot it in the volume. And I can see already that I have a strong up bars on higher volume from the December 8th week. And this week, we got 2 days left, but the volume's still considerably low. I'm thinking it's probably going to end about right here for that time. And that would be within the camp that there might be still some selling that is being done. The pressure's still exactly where it is. I'm going to be still looking in that camp right now until I have otherwise. So December 8th, might we still be looking? December 8th analysis still holding somewhere here. Let me move this delay territory bar so you guys can have that. Nope. Okay, I'll just move this off to the side a little bit so you guys can still see. We're still in this delay territory. I really don't want to buy it just yet until after 224. It's very close to the resistance. That's where I would feel safer to buy it, because if I just buy it right now, I'm in for a very short move from 218 to 224. And that could be a good thing. Now, if you're intraday trading this, stocks, they get a little expensive when you're intraday trading them, but there's ways you can do them. So with this, you may look, if we look a little closely at a daily chart, you may be able to get the 224 number. Okay, you can say, oh, we're breaking here. And it's very possible you may get it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to be able to adjust the bottom, since we got a nice little bounce here, and that's going to give us another weakness and another support. So our next angle would look something like this, and then we can break this down a little bit further. Okay, let me draw something like this, and then I will draw something like this as we get into that vortex. Shorter term, we might actually be looking something like this. Okay, update December 17th. This stock is still in a delay territory with the 216 area still acting as a possible resistance, bullish territory, above here is towards the same 224 area previously discussed. This is the foundational area, 224. I would be interested in it moving higher after 224 area. Until then, 216 to 224 does not change the game much due to average volatility. Now, I'm going to teach you just a moment about average volatility. Here it is real quick. If I was gauging average volatility, is it well within my rights to get to 216 and still be 100% correct? These are the questions you want to be asking yourself. Is it normal for this to happen? Because you could put a lot of weight on a bullish breakout or a bearish breakout, but it's average. And this is how we do this. This is how we calculate it. So what we do is we calculate for average candle. And just simply, I'm going to show you, here's average candle. So you can see it's average for the stock to go up or down or to move about this far deep. So one of the things you can simply do is take a measuring line, okay, for the average candle, and I'm just going to measure it about there. Is this correct? Is this about the average candle? Do we agree? This is average candle. About here. Now I'm gonna show you. Does this work for you guys? Does it make sense? Yes, no? You got it? Nobody? Did everybody fall asleep on me? Okay, it's okay. You guys can sleep. I don't mind. Does this work? Okay, so what I'm showing you is average candle. Now, if you do an analysis and your analysis says, hey, we may still be moving to the downside. Thank you. Okay, what we want to do is I want to look and see if it's well within my range, because if so, we could easily hit those areas and not change the game. We can even wick to those areas nice and juicy right there and still be 100% correct. So you got to be careful, because this is how we can get whipsawed of false breakouts. Okay, make sense? You guys can have some many false breakouts and still be within your down territory. You can be like, oh man, we're still in this delay territory. To weakness. You can think you have a breakout, but it's much better to wait for more probable actual breakouts. So this was good. This would be our average candle distance. Average candle dist. Okay. And I'll put it somewhere else so you guys understand. Okay. So this is how we can just keep ourselves a little safe out there. All right. So yeah, anyway, without much change, until then, 216 to 224 area does not change the game much due to the average candle volatility. Okay. All right. So that's how I'd read the board in that area. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Any other questions? All right. Hope you guys are learning some things as we just built some maps together and put together pictures. Okay, let's go to some more. All right, Toshi the cat. I'll zoom out. The daily chart is, we got this on Polynex, current price 3034. I'll wait for a moment. December 8th, 2025, 00029 support is nice, but remember the market's going to reveal soon strong sign of weakness that will affect much of the crypto world, making it difficult for even accumulated cryptos to rise. Here we're basically today almost at that support. We are at this current support right here, which is part of one of the event lines. And also we also had a leveled out parabolic now, which is quite nice. So good support that we might be at, but again, just use some caution out there because of this. Now, the level out parabolic is based on this mid phantom, and it's like a type of mid phantom parabolic. It's a little bit similar to the mid phantom we were doing on our opening stock for today. So it's right there in the middle. We can see that the bottom is somewhere here and the top is somewhat here with one verification, two verifications. And the fact that this is wicking somewhere in here may be a type of verification. So this would be like a mid-phantom parabolic. Now I cannot label these, but that's about where it goes. But even those, they do level out. And I drew another curvature that's here. So the first one's primarily on gesture, and the other's more true to its T. And both of them are going to level out somewhere about this area. The 2.9 becomes of really deep importance to me. Weakness would be more clearly defined underneath, so we can bring that a little bit down, and then the health would be somewhere when we get a nice bounce on these areas. So I'm going to be looking for a bounce. I would like to have buyers winning, so I would like to see buyers. That means high volume at this day, sometime in March, and then I want to see, as we're coming down, I want to see low volume. I want to see no demand, because that means that would still be bullish. Otherwise, we also want to see less lack of selling. So I want to see the volume getting lower on the top. I want to see those sellers, I want to see the volume going higher on the top portions as well, but usually into health. Now, since I don't have health yet, it's not something I can really calculate for just yet. That's going to be above here. And if I see us break above and I'm having higher volume than the previous, then I know that the market is still in harmony to the upside, and I'm looking for bullishness. So let's start there. By the way, with Toshi, we have a large buying that has been identified in the past on this down move. That means on that first down move into health, we had high volume. So let's look at all of that just real quickly and just make sure everything's on the up and up. So that was our very large volume. Is off the chart type of volume that came in. So that means that big players are still playing. And then more locally smaller, we can calculate for some of the smaller stuff. But when you do have such a great disparity in the volume, just bear in mind, when you have such a great disparity in the volume, it makes the stuff that you're looking at right now less important. I'll say it again. When you have such great disparity, it makes the stuff less important unless I see this type of volume that's there. Here now, it's almost like nonchalant. So I can only use this for local stuff, but it's hard to compare it unless I'm seeing the bigger stuff, that the bigger volume. I will say that it appears that the large players are still in this TOSHI. All right. So individually, more locally, I see some high volume into a weakness. That's going to be some local selling. So that would come down. So we'd look again for that 29 number. That's going to be more local. We also see high volume here on the up bar, but the move, if it's into this weakness, that's going to stress the selling that is in the background here. So right now we did have a strong down move. So that would be somewhat of a selling. This would be somewhat selling. That's how we'd view that in context. So small selling into those smaller weaknesses, but still a lot of hope for TOSHI. So if you're going to get TOSHI at a good price, this is probably the best price you can get it. If the markets take a downturn and we move into a bearish area, that's something you're going to be looking at. Personally, I'm still looking for a move to the one more bullish move or a smaller wave before the down move really starts, but we'll know for sure as we get above the 6.62 area on USDT.D. That's going to be the big trigger, the one I've been telling everybody for a few months now. Since October, the biggest weaknesses, and then the biggest update back in November publicly when I told everybody what we're looking for there. It's above 6.2, 6.62 is a huge drop in the market, but we're not there yet. We're coming close. We're coming very close, and the breakout is needed. That's all I got for you guys with this stock. Any other questions?
So, yeah, I think Super put up a post that there was some massive wallet purchasing it even at these prices.
Yep. Do you know
on
what
the daily chart
exchange you might be on? It would show if they're buying at these prices, you're going to see this down move on high volume. I don't have TOSHI on many other exchanges, I don't think. TOSHI the cat is the one that
should be on Coinbase.
Okay, let's see. I got TOSHI and USDC. It looks like TOSHI. Yep, TOSHI. It's the same logo.
Yeah, you got it in US dollar as well on Coinbase.
USDC, TOSHI. Let's try to find one. USD. On Coinbase, I just don't see it here. Maybe some people. Maybe it's somewhere. I don't know.
What about the daily chart?
It would at least show up in the weekly chart. If it was a daily intra. Yep.
No,
if it was a daily chart, drop in the bucket maybe.
Do you think it's gonna?
I don't see it.
A small move up. No.
So I'm just letting you know, just real quick. This is the kind of volume I'm looking for. Something that moves. For example, you can easily see both superfood, and you can easily see both the up for the foundation and this block that I'm drawing. Okay. If we look carefully, the type of volume that was on the bar is the type of volume that is the money for those wallets that you guys will see. Okay, it's like these two. So that area, you can just chunk it into one if you want to. It's approximately from here on. And if we see high volume, but the move is into weakness, we view selling pressure, selling starting to enter the market, if that would be. Okay, so selling would start coming in. Here's another one. The move is into weakness, so in the context, we can view the up moves. If they're on heavy volume, this one is, we can view selling. So now we have a baseline for what type of money moves the market. If the TOSHI is really going to go up locally due to this local stuff, not the big stuff on the other chart, which had huge buying, by the way. But if it is, we'd want to see that similar buying. Here's another example. But both of these, we see what? A down move and a down move primarily from these areas. Okay, so you can, I'm not saying it's all tradable. This is tradable into the health. That's tradable into the health. We don't have a health. It's a kind of a dangerous spot to buy. The other thing that we have, though, is this one and this one. So let's see what those are about. Maybe those are tops we can calculate for. Yep. So we have another top we can calculate for. And they give me a good baseline as to what's happening. Okay, so this is going to be more of a local situation where we have a decrease in volume. Both show sellers. So at this point in time, sellers are winning. Sellers are winning. Sellers are winning. So locally, when we're here, it's a bad spot. This is a daily chart. Here's another one. We have this up move now, right? It's starting to round. It's about rounding exactly where it should be based on the foundational area. So it should round here, right? We should be rounding there. You can see that's basically what's happening. If we're going to be going down, that's about what you would expect. But we have high volume in context. Where's the high volume at? It is, let's calculate, look quickly, on an up bar, up move, uptrend. So I'm going to say no matter how I slice it and dice it, I would have to be more careful, smaller local stuff with especially just currently as it is. So if you guys find a wallet showing that, generally it's going to show up in the data, but I would be looking for this to fall more short term. Okay, so this is just still a lot of selling identified. Make sense?
Yeah.
So remember, professional selling has to happen on the up move, up bar, uptrend. All right. So find data that will support the large buying. And I remember one time we saw a crypto, it was like on HTX exchange or whatever. There was a lot of money coming into a certain crypto. And I didn't see the volume on others. So if you guys are watching this video and you're saying, Jason, don't take me as the gospel truth, okay? When I preach the gospel, then you can take me as the gospel truth. But when I'm talking about crypto, I'm just one set of eyes, okay? I'm just one set of eyes. You guys have eyes too. All of you guys can see. My job is to teach you how to read. From there, you can choose what to read, and you're going to read things that I'll never see. You can trade stuff that I'll never trade. You can do things like that. So use your volume and go and find exchanges where you see the buying, see the selling occurring. As it is, locally, Toshi makes a downward probability right now. Okay, more local. And so if we put that in a context with our other map, on our Polynex chart, it's going to put back the stress towards where? Probably back to the 0.221. If the markets are bullish, we'd probably be there. Current price is 0.3, so right now we're just right there. I would think that we're going to come in for a nice landing. If the markets, yeah, that's just based on its own situation. Okay. It was on the on-chain block, so it could be a buyer over the counter, sneaky stuff. Yeah, don't be surprised if you see some sneaky stuff going on in the markets. A lot of manipulation, ups, downs. Again, I don't think it changes context of the game for Toshi. All right. Oh, yeah, thanks. 2.9 is likely, support at 0.029 is likely to be hit again. Oh, I better put a down arrow for that. One moment, guys. I need to make sure I put some numbers on the board for you for Toshi. And breakouts above 0.00073 area with structure is needed. I would look for some closes above there is needed for longer health towards 0.065. Big trade there. And weakness under 0.00029 is to be taken with more seriousness. Okay, so I would take that weakness a little bit more serious. So just in short, if I'm here, that's a big no-no. Okay, big no-no. This is when things are getting wrong for Toshi. They'll let it come down. Will the big players, but Jason, you said big players are buying. Yeah, I know. And they bought way down here. They can play the long game. They're fine with it moving up and down. They don't care. They entered low. They're what's called, which rich, is it Rich Dad? Poor Dad? I'm not sure. I think he said they're called strongholders. It might have been Gavin Holmes. They're called strongholders. And the weak holders are the ones who bought up here. They're already hurting. Okay, they're buying at the top. They're already hurting. So the lower you have, if you're already in profit, you're a strong holder. So this one, they don't mind shaking out people, and that happens from time to time. If so, I'd be looking for some more lows if that comes up. All right, ready to move on? We got everything. We got contingency plans for when things start going a little bit south. Okay, seriously, with 0.0000081 as a first in support. All right. Okay, I'm gonna just put this on. I'll move on to the next FXY. Update December 15th, 17th. Touch my hands, my mouth and my heart. Feel my life, Lord, every part. The Holy Ghost on me. Let's pull up our USDT.D. You guys don't really need a deep analysis on this. You guys all have it. So just where I'm at. Here we are. I'll pull up the 3-day chart. Okay. Remember the last things I gave you guys about this chart? I didn't trust this breakout. I went down all the way down to a 3-hour chart. I think it was for this. And I didn't trust this breakout. And this chart was why. Just yet. I don't trust it just yet. Okay, so this is the update. Okay, the foundational area which shows the next bullish trades really is going to trigger from 0.6, and that's just going to move on to this week. So now it's 616 instead of 614. It's just going to be a little bit out. In fact, I'll give you the average for next week around December 18th, 617. So this is a 3-hour chart. This is going to be some very short-term stuff. Here's our wick match. It's all in these areas, and these are signs, possible breakout. Now, when I look at the volume, and I'm comparing these areas here, I want to read the volume in 2 aspects. The first aspect is that generally, high volume on up moves, up bars into weakness is going to let us know there's selling happening. But the problem is this one doesn't have the weakness based on its foundational area. What that means is that of the up move, I cannot confirm there's short-term selling that is occurring. Okay, because we're not in a weakness. So I have to be a little bit lenient with that. So I don't have, let me draw this appropriately. There we go. Okay, I don't have this. If I have this, I'm going to be viewing this as possible selling. So you'll know if you phase here, you're probably going to go down because of this local selling. Local possible selling. Now, if this goes down, cryptos go up. So this would actually be a bullish thing for crypto. Remember that? Okay. But it's not, we're not here. Because we're not here, it is unconfirmed. So I need to put this unconfirmed. What we do have is volume, a block that we can compare to. So this needs to be a little bit different in color. So let's just do a pink for this. And I'll put that pink, and then I'll draw another pink box as to denote I'm doing another calculation. And we've already done this calculation in the longer sense, but now on a 3-hour chart, it's going to paint a bigger picture. So we did this analysis actually on Saturday. And I told you guys, this is why I'm unconvinced that we're going up just yet. Okay? I'm not super convinced we're going up just yet. So we'll do this real quick. A, B, C. You guys remember this chart from from Monday. And the volume is decreasing at these areas. So A, there's the volume. B, here's the volume. And here's C. So you can see we're doing a situation like that. Now it's still aggregately high compared to its neighbors. The volume here. But it's trending the right direction. We're decreasing. Does that make sense, my friends? Okay. Does that give you guys a good idea of what's actually happened? So we can actually see sellers, and this is what I gave you guys on Monday. Sellers are winning. So I'm not so convinced at this moment. Okay. Sellers are winning, and that's not how you spell winning. Is this how you spell winning? Should be one N, right? Winning. Sellers are winning at this moment, not whining.
But you need 2 ends.
Okay, I need 2 N's. You know what? Here, let's just type it in so I look professional, right? It can type. Why am I not typing? Okay.
Hey, I'm dyslexic. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I was absent the day they taught spelling in schools. Sellers are winning at this moment. This is a 3 hour.
I told you I had dyslexia.
December 17th, 2025. So this is the same chart. This is the same analysis from Monday's December 15th. Okay, so we already talked about this if you guys saw that chart. Now, the reason I'm saying this is it creates a more probability that we're still going down short term only. Okay, this is why I'm still in the camp where we're getting somewhere down there. Okay, it was down there. But only short term. The problem with this analysis is remember what I told you guys, the problem I had when I was 18 years old, when I was on a trading team and we were doing Forex years ago. Yeah, I said we did the best analysis we could, but then we got blown out of the way. And I was like, why did we get blown out of the way? Price didn't just go the wrong direction. It went way the wrong direction. Why? What were we calculating? For the range we're calculating on like that 15-minute chart, we didn't see something. We didn't see that for the daily chart, there was a larger story painting the picture in the opposite direction, making a strong case for the opposite. Had we just zoomed out, we would have saw the larger story. So everything has to be taken in its stride in its context. Short term, I'm making this case that we may do that. We're not confirmed yet based on this foundational area, we can say it doesn't make the strongest case for this just yet because we're not there. Remember, that's unconfirmed. We could still break up to the positive side. We can also draw some trend lines and say maybe we're here at the little sword cap. But all I know is that there's a larger resistance that's somewhere in this area anyway. And this is part of the larger story. So 6.72 is really where that resistance is going to be. So 6.72%. So once we hit 6.72, this is what I'm really been preaching. I think to myself, something big is changing. And the reason we know that big is changing is because on the larger story, the larger charts, even though we're all focused on this little movement here, you need to understand that there's something larger happening already in this area. So here's already a weekly chart. We're just calculating for this little stuff, but we've already shown you from the previous charts that this is already calculated. A, B, C. And it's making an increased story at these areas. So this makes a stronger, longer term going up. Now, what does that mean? Remember, in the market, when this goes up, cryptos come down. So when this goes down, cryptos go up. So shorter term, it's saying, yeah, we may get a smaller movement, but longer term, we may get a very larger movement. So the actual weight of the matter is we're looking at a crash coming. And that's what I've been preaching to you guys. So don't get caught up too much in the smaller stuff. This should still be going up. In fact, the stronger it is, the more case it's going to be. Now, you'll notice about 2 weeks ago, about a week ago, I think it was a little over a week ago, I was the first to talk about this weakness here. I said, look, we're in a weakness territory. I think we're going to have a small pullback. And the weakness started here, and I gave you the weakness to delay, which means you got to be careful doing long-term bullish trades here. Be very careful because it's still delay, not just weakness. And we're not just going down, and that means cryptos would be bullish. In fact, price just came down just a little only, and then came right back to the top and is challenging those areas again. So even though this still could be in play, because that's technically still the area, and we're still above this flat, and the real weakness hasn't started, the faster we go in this area, especially if we can just blow past this, it's going to say, man, it didn't even want bullishness. You know what I'm going to say to myself? That the larger crash is going to be even stronger. I'm going to put some more weight maybe on the higher side. Because even when it had a chance to be bullishness, it didn't try to be bullish. Does that make sense to you guys? This was when this line was broken. We were supposed to come down here for a landing, and I think we're still going to do that. I'm still in that camp. But the fact that we're not even right when we have a chance to do it and bounce exactly where we're supposed to based on the larger parabolic stuff. And I think my calculation's correct. I think those are the parabolic. I think that's the parabolic. I think this is the wick area. When we broke here, we're supposed to come in for a nice landing. If we don't even do that when we're supposed to, how bearish is the market? Because remember, when this goes up, cryptos go down. If we just go right into this area, guys, I'm going to be like, this is a big crash. That's what I'm going to say. because when you had a chance to be bullish, you didn't even take it. It's like when price has a chance, like earlier we were looking at TOSHI. It was just hovering under. Was it TOSHI? Oh, it was a stock. We looked at a stock, and I'm just going to show you the image from today. If you see a stock that is supposed to go down and it doesn't go down when it's supposed to go down, it's a strong sign. Here it is. It's called FOX stock. All right. This is a monthly chart. And we understood this is the area of weakness. We're supposed to go down, and all it just keeps hitting challenging, and it's challenging on increased volume. Wait, was it increase in volume? I think I had it. Yeah, here it is. It's challenging on increased volume. This makes a very strong sign we're going to go down. If it doesn't go down when it's supposed to, something is wrong. I'm letting you guys know, guys, this would have been the best chance for it to come down. Now, it could still do it up here. We couldn't. But if it doesn't come down when it's supposed to, how bearish is really the crypto world, especially if we get into here? I already showed you guys the next time when it's starting to, in my opinion, going to start looking to start taking shorts again. It's around these days. I don't know if I would take this shorts here. That's too risky for my blood. That's like this move here. You can say, Jason, the markets continue going down. No, not unless you're already in the shorts. This is where you got to be real careful, in my opinion. I don't trust this based on the volume, based on what I showed you. That's why I draw this arrow here, because that's still in play. Okay, but this starts getting activated for shorts again above these general numbers, 639. That's when the market starts going down again, above there, and primarily above this. All right, everybody got it? 6.62. That's when things start looking negative again in a huge way. But if we just go right there without touching this, I'm going to say to myself, guys, something is very wrong with the crypto world. And that's a very negative thing. So I'll be shorting the heck out of that when it's time. Find some weak stuff, get on the bandwagon, make a lot of money on the way down. Surf it. Surf the humunga dunga on the way down. Got it. All right, so that's my analysis of what I think is happening, both short term and long term. I hope that bless you. All right, anyone else? Questions, thoughts? Christian? Okay, he's not. Hot mic. House? Questions, thoughts?
No. It's all there, isn't it?
At least my opinion. What about yours? Everybody sees a little something different that I may never see.
I haven't really. The Lord hasn't really showed me anything as of recently.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody. I think everybody's kind of a bit of a wait and see.
Yep. Especially with this territory.
But I'm hoping it comes down to 6178 so I can tie up my positions a bit.
Oh, yeah. If it comes down to 6178, watch for a possible weakness. If it does, if you get the weakness underneath that curvature and it matches all the way to a 3-hour chart, you're going to probably see that number 5.72. So there'll be one really last bullish rally. If that happens, you'll see one last bullish rally for cryptos before the storm. And then I think all of you guys are going to be able to, you'll see like a little profit in your account. You'll see your accounts back in positive. And that's when many of you guys are going to want to consider start taking bullish. But whatever you do, please don't be fooled. Everybody, just listen to me. Please don't be fooled by the bullish rally if this one happens. Okay, don't be fooled. It's going to be so tempting. You'll be at the holiday celebrating Christmas, and people are going to be starting possibly talking about what cryptos they're going to buy. And I just want you guys to just don't forget the larger stuff that's going on, that larger story, the larger volume. Everything paints a picture that the weather should be moving that way, and if it's moving that way, it's not good. So that's going to be one of the best prices that you guys can get if you can, or for shorting the markets. And this will be about the best time to get out of the market when it occurs. For now, it's still a bunch of up and down, and we're going to see. Anyone else?
So whenever YouTuber and their granny's buying Bitcoin because it's going to 175,
yeah, basically.
Sell your space helmet and buy your diving suit.
Let's go to the last few. So we'll do base PEPE, breakout above 6.39 area daily chart towards 6.62 6.20 areas, break down below 6.17 towards 5.70, 5.72. I highly suspect the breakdown that is short-term bullish only. This only activates currently below 6.17. Okay. Large crash, large breakout above 6.62 is the beginning of a large crypto market crash. Okay. Yep. So that's basically the analysis. Now that's a lot, so I'm going to shorten that up or put it all on a different page. All right. And the next one is crypto as base PEPE. Next request is, nope, TDROP. Sorry. Yeah, it is right. Base PEPE. What is base PEPE? BASD. What, darling? Okay. I need to, for the base PEPE one, I have to go to because all I have is PEPE. It's not the same as the based one. So I'm going to pull up a chart on the website of Dex Tools, and I'm also going to pull up my previous images to see if I have anything different. Based PEPE. Oh, I used to have it. Okay. On MEXC. Did they delist it? Let's see. Oh yeah, I still have it. There it is. Base PEPE USDT. All right. Okay. All right. So our current map shows something like this. This was a weakness underneath these areas based on that large parabolic stuff going on here. That was a little bit back in October for this. This is a daily chart, larger overview. We got a parabolic like this, and that also should have revealed a weakness on the lower side. I don't know if I put that one in. Yeah, somewhere about right here. And then our EV Phantom also showed weakness. So all of this was weakness for base PEPE. All of this is weakness. We really shouldn't have been playing underneath these areas right there. Now, the way we got that calculation for this one, hold on. The way I have that calculation and why I'm more bearish right now, this says it's an EV Phantom. So the Phantom is the event line. The event line is the last things that are supposed to happen. So if we break down to the downside, the last supports start coming into play. We already broke down below the blue line. If we were to calculate these, it's quite easy to see. These are our bottoms. Okay. And we're below these. And you can see us just hitting it multiple times. Okay. 1, 2, 3. So we're not making a strong case for bullishness of this at all, and we're making only cases of weakness for this crypto. Base PEPE has revealed to us a lot of what we need to know. We have to be really careful with cryptos that move into weakness. I really want to stress this for all of you guys who are watching. You're seeing our method. You say, I don't care about base PEPE. Why should I watch Jason? Because you guys are learning things just by observing the market. Even if it's stuff that you're not trading, you're just making observations. You're seeing things. Because these lessons of what you're observing will serve you well whatever you're trading, whatever you guys are looking at. And the markets are going to get pretty dangerous out there. And I want you guys to see it before it happens. A lot of your health and support, and just see it coming in and out. Because sometimes we buy things, we buy things because it's either popular, or we heard about it, or somebody had a prophetic about it or something. And a lot of times just using a little bit of wisdom, you can make out much better than the masses. Sometimes you just need to let stuff go and pick it up at a later time if you're able to. There's some ministers and pastors and leaders who will teach you never sell this or never do that. I'm not in those camps. I can't get behind that. All right, let's see. Now, there is signs of professional accumulation that are in this crypto, but let's see if who they're playing against. So there is signs in the past of professional accumulation, and that could mean that this crypto will do well, but you also got to be realistic about your timing and season. So let's see what was going on here. So we have high volume on these areas. On the down bar, the move is into health. We have high volume, the move is into health, a small health, but then we lose our weakness, and these guys can only hold on so long, especially if they're not winning the game. Currently, they are now hurting. Now we know they're hurting because they paid these prices and prices here, so they're in pain. So we have to use that, especially those round structures, is a very important piece of information. So if price is hitting here, especially if these areas were on high volume, they'd be jumping ship. They can only take pain so long, and we have to calculate their efforts. So I would do something like this. If it was me, I would draw to try to find the bottom. I would make sure I'm drawing that parabolic, and then I would duplicate the parabolic to account for their oscillation. So their lowest area we'd put it in is approximately about right there due to the bottom. Okay, that's about the bottom. So this is where I would place that oscillation. So this is also a negative spot for them to be in. Okay, so they're in pain. The DP is about the farthest they got before they're going to jump ship. I'm going to DP that oscillation for me, and you're going to see them. They cannot take any more pain below there. Generally, that's about all. About the deepest psychological level. So I'm going to say to myself, somewhere down where we were, where it's just here, we're going to see that. So this crypto, no health needed. So this is why it's so important. If you have a crypto that's in large accumulation, find the health, the real health, there, right there. All right. That's where the big health is. That was what was needed. If you're playing with these buyers and you say, oh, there's buying in the background, draw it and take your trade there. The banks may throw large money at it, hedge funds, but it doesn't mean they're smart. It doesn't mean they're right. It doesn't mean they're going to win. Okay. If it moves into health, you can view the buying as winning. Okay. Or you can view it, the buying as strong. These are local healths only. We have larger structures we cannot ignore. So therefore, it is here where the winners come in. Now that's where this is. That's why I got this for you. Okay. And the number is on the screen, 7057. So that is currently not the case. Okay. They are not winning here. So this is important. This is paramount. Okay. That's when you start going up. But right now, the opposite is happening, isn't it? So we got to be very realistic about cryptocurrency. We can't be afraid to have those difficult conversations about what we may be seeing with our eyes. Cannot deny reality in some ways. Okay? Large. This October, this has absorption complete, but entry trigger dynamic was not triggered. This number comes down on the track. As of next week, the average is 7028. Well, all of those is already hit. I do not have a RSI price base as a signal. This is only in a downtrend. Okay, so these are all back from September and there. So now we need to find something. In conclusion, let's finish this up. If I was going to buy this, I need the health, a local health. Then I'm going to be able to make a territory there. This line has already shown me some very important information. So I'm going to, where's it, this one? Yeah, let me go to that weekly chart. I'm going to make sure it's solidified and on my chart in a strong way. Yeah, it was exactly where it needed to be. Okay. So this has basically the bottoms. Let's make it real. The highest level of thickness, level 4. And then I'm going to label this strong. I'm going to say strong angle. Okay, I don't know what type of angle this would be. Just being here in the middle yet. Probably a DP, but we're below that. So I'm going to say no. I'm just going to say just a strong angle to watch for. We got support on both sides. Okay. And then finally, this one, we're below that. That's another sign of weakness. I'm going to clean up this chart a bit. All right. I think that's all I got for you. Just stretch these out. Wait for the local healths. That'd be one right now, currently above 7/0's15. Until then, we're on a fast track on the way down, probably. Okay. Anyone else? Questions, thoughts, comments regarding my outlook and take on this? Okay. It's probably going to do well in the future, especially with the large buyers in play, but fast track on the way down. Let's put some comments on the screen so I have updated. 2025. More weakness has appeared in previous sessions. A lack of health still is important. Currently, that is 1.70's 15 towards 7/0's 24, then 0.7Z24 towards 0.7Z57. 7Z57 is the strong, important health as discussed today. None of these are in play. Currently, bearish territories are active. Support at 0.8Z30, 8/0's 30 is likely. Warning, large accumulation is in this crypto. However, health is not. Large players are currently in negative positions, and this is on high time frames. If there is a bounce at 8/0's 30 area and a move back towards 0.715, it is very 7/0's 15. It is very likely large players will cut positions and flood that area with supply. In other words, price will most likely reject at that area. And I'll draw arrows for you guys. This is very dangerous if it stays long at that area. This would be a scenario where large positional holders have given up and try to break even. All right, that's all I want to say about that. It would look like this. If we have a move up here and they come up, this is basically where they would break even. Remember, this is where all the large professional accumulation came in. Okay, right there, these two areas. That's where they would take profit. Okay, I would see them do something like that. It's very likely, unless they're going to push it back into health, which they probably might try because they have such power. But right now they're losing so much, they may just say, you know what, let's just dump it. It's not making us any money. Let's just get out. So when it comes back up, they're just going to be like, that's it. Let's just go. And there could be a lot of supply flooded right there. All right. I've seen it a lot of times. And it's something that you're probably going to see for base PEPE in the future. The longer it stays, the more likely that's going to be the case. If it's just staying in this negative and not doing anything, then it becomes on their books just a waste of expense, very loss. Their managers, whoever's running those funds, would probably just cut their holdings. I know, because one time a company contacted me and they gave me a very long list, and they said to me, hey, which ones should we consider cutting our losses? And they gave me a very long list, and possibly was trying to consult me if their deal went through. They were a brokerage firm who was going to be obtaining another exchange, some kind of popular exchange, and they saw about me, and they said, if our funding goes through, we want you to be our consultant guy. And I can't talk much about those details, but they gave me the list, and there was a lot of cryptos, and of their portfolio was huge, and they were managing the assets of the losing portfolio. So the first exchange guy, people who owned the exchange, who were doing the bulk of their trading, were losing money because they had a lot of assets, and they were asking, which one should we cut, which one should we keep? So these are questions that large traders and funds actually ask themselves. That's how I would do it. I'd be like, oh, cut your losses, keep your winners. But at the same time, if you're likely to hold on, they're hoping. That's a lot of money thrown at it, to the tune of 50 trillion on average, 50 trillion on average of this crypto at 8 zeros. Now that's going to be probably a couple $100,000, because it's 50 trillion of that token, and maybe a couple $100,000 that's thrown at these. So a lot of money. Somebody threw a lot of money at base Pepe. All right. Anyway, it's not just one trader. Okay, it could be lots of traders in bulk, but for the most part, it's generally not retail. Okay. Any other questions, thoughts, base Pepe? More questions, thoughts, base Pepe. Okay.
I'll just add. Yeah, I'll just add. I was just Googling. It's a meme coin. And I was just wondering, how many employees are there? And there's 0 employees. There's a group that founded it, and now you have a community like Superfood, owners of the crypto, but there's 0 employees according to Google. So whatever that's worth.
Is that including just non-taxable type of employees, or?
I just Googled how many employees work for this crypto, and they said none. But if you Google other cryptos, they'll say 500, 50, 30, 1,500. So some cryptos have employees and people put in a lot of money and fund it and operate a business, basically a crypto business to develop a crypto. But these, I don't think any money's funded, except maybe to pay influencers that would promote it. That would be the only thing I would think.
Wow.
It's just a crypto that someone generated out of thin air.
That makes for utility aspects less likely, unless the community itself decides on some kind of leadership or board or whatever. And there may be, but if there was, then at least that would have some kind of for utility in the future. Otherwise, it is just a store of value.
Yeah, and these meme coins, they require a lot of customers. The whole purpose is to generate 1 million owners of the crypto. So they don't want the crypto accumulated in the hands of 100 people, then it's pretty much worthless, because it's a meme coin that depends on public owning it. At least that's my opinion of it.
I guess the good thing about that is you've no CEOs to rip off the profits, because there is no CEOs.
Yeah, that's true. And I think if on this exchange, MEXC, and we see all this money, if all of this is just retails, and it could be other large holders, right? It could be like large banks and stuff. But if it was retail, and they didn't take profits here on this bar, or not, at least not significantly, I really think you're due for a bounce, because that's going to be a very easy human emotion to just get back your money. What you say about that? That's this blue angle, guys. That'd be very angle, the blue one. If it's just retail, who's only buying, because they are very predictable. Wild West Superfood says, don't sleep on human emotion. Probably during human emotion is an example when humans FOMO. Welcome to the Wild West. Yeah. Low buy orders for base Pepe probably pump next run, maybe. Yeah, all it needs is spark. Yeah, it could be. And look at, there's something else I'm looking at right now, guys. I didn't see this before. This is a little bit interesting. The increase in volume on the down move is actually a good sign. That maybe some buyings are coming back in. So the problem is we just need a health to confirm it, and it's a ways away. It's a ways away now. I can be a little bit more sharper about this, and I'll just put one on the board. But it's a ways away. So I would be, this is a weekly chart, so there may be some health coming in, and not so far into the future. We'll watch it. We'll watch it. I would say maybe here's February. Especially if we come down here, we're talking March, maybe. March of next year. Okay. And I'll just put a little bit of highlight. If we come here, if the cryptos have a great crash though, look for this to really be imprinted on the market. That would be a weakness underneath this area. Okay. All right. There'll be a bloodbath if there's a crash and this goes lower. There'll be a bloodbath for Pepe. A lot of people will be disgruntled, but you can't force the markets to do anything. No one can. All right. Teardrop or T-drop. This one's TDROP. What is this? All right. It's a new one, Superfood. It's this one, Superfood's request, right? Looking for an entry. Okay. All right. Let's look on crypto.com first. They don't have volume, but I want to make sure the structure is still the same and the price is the same. 3073 and Gate.io. Same structure with volume. Okay. 3073. All right. Let's take a look at this one. What have you heard about it?
Good morning. T-drop is part of the data ecosystem.
Okay.
T-drop was used for NFT, but there was an announcement today that T-drop is going to be used for, that utility is going to be used for other stuff besides NFT.
Oh.
So just wanted to see of an entry for T-drop.
Let's see if we can find one. Rising volume on this down move here into health. What might that tell us, Superfood? Right here at this time. If we get a health, but the volume's rising on the down move into it. Anyone want to help him out?
Yeah, so I did see that rounding action on that.
Yeah.
That to me is actually, now that you see the foundational line there, it is below that.
Yeah, even if it is below that.
Nice support.
But this, let's just take it first in its piece. That first down piece, the move is into health on rising volume. What is this? What type of volume are we looking at? What is it telling us, the story here so far?
Oh, they're buying it up.
Yeah, that's right. That's buying. This is going to be professional buying. We know this because the move is into health on the down move in rising volume. Somebody's putting the gas in. The other smaller things I don't talk about much, but I probably should a little bit more, is the spread. The actual spreads are getting very narrow. You can see how narrow the spreads are. Look how small the candles are. All right. Compared to the average, okay, candle, we start seeing the spreads get really narrow. So something's happening. A lot of money changing hands in a very short amount of time. Okay. Or a short amount of space. So this is a first sign that professional buying is coming into this crypto. Now, it doesn't mean it's going up, or at least long, but more locally it goes up. It would probably have hit our target system. We could have probably drawn a simple target if we were doing those days. So if I measured from here to the bottom, the targets are going to be up here, right? So that's where our target system would be. This is the data we would have. So we would be looking to hit approximately there. And we got pretty close, right? Very close. Very close. We hit there in when? Here in July of 2025. Now, being realistic, what was the dates? This was back in November 2023. So we hit it in July. Hit in July 2023. Target. Okay, so that's fun. Right? Don't you love target system? It's awesome. But a smaller weakness also occurred and came in during those days. And it's going to be somewhere in this area. With the messiness, it's still somewhere here. Weakness. So there's going to be about where our weakness is. let's take a look at what was happening on there. Because if the buyers are coming in, I want to ask myself the next question. If we came down, did they get out? Right? I think that's a fair question to ask ourselves, right? It would look like high volume moves into weakness, either here or here, these two highs. So I don't want high volume at those two areas. Okay? I'm going to say it again. I don't want high volume at those areas. Did the big players get out at these times right here? Did the big players get out yet? Let's look.
No.
Hal says no, and I'm going to agree with him. I'm going to agree with his professional analysis. So we see lack of profit taking. What does lack of profit taking mean in the story if we see buying in the background? So what does it mean? If I don't see them taking profits and I see them...
Accumulation.
Okay. It doesn't necessarily mean accumulation itself, but it does,
buying up supply.
It does bring importance to those who accumulated. What does it tell us about those who are accumulating? We already saw they were accumulating here, and we see they didn't get out here. So what does that mean in the story? What simple and logical conclusions can we come to? Okay, how about this one, guys? Tell me if you agree. If we see them get in and we see them didn't get out, I think the logical conclusion would be they're still in. Make sense? So at this point of time, we can conclude big players are entering, big players are still part of this. Does that make sense so far? So as of this day, February 2025, we can still see they're in. Make sense? Okay. Professional buying, which is accumulation. So it paints a bullish story. Let's just write that in our notes so we don't forget, and then we can come to whatever conclusions we came to. December 17th, 2025, T-drop. We can see large players enter in September 2023 areas. We can also see lack of profit taking. This means large traders are still in the game as of February 2025. Okay. All right. So we got to be aware if they get out.
Jason, did you say 2023?
Yep, 2023.
I think you typed 2024.
Oops, sorry.
Or is it 20? Okay, it is 2020. Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, 2023. Okay, so we see them in. We see them don't get out. That's important. We like those things. Okay, we did challenge the low side, and now we need a health. So where's our health? It's going to be, let's adjust this angle for what's basically happening now. So as of 2023, we'd have this angle, right? If we didn't have any more data, we'd at least have that, right? Those are going to be our larger energy centers, okay, that we can just grapple up with. All right, now we have 3 lined up and some other verifications here, right? When we were hitting here later in the future, we came. So now the story is unfolding. They didn't get out here or here. Let's put a little X in those boxes, just to denote that. Lack of profit taking. Put another X here. Lack of profit taking. All right, so the story's still making sense. Now we're going to draw a little bit more conclusions. If they're buying here and here, generally we want absorption, which means when we challenge, we want low volume. The problem with this area, as we come to these lows, the volume is somewhere here in these areas. So remember, they were paying all the way up to here. So anywhere from these prices is when they started paying for it, right? So right here, do we agree? That's about all the same volume, right? That's the high volume. So the prices of those days, if I'm just gonna go to those days, is somewhere here. So we're doing this together. You guys are gonna be like $1 million investigators. You're rich and you're gonna be doing these same stuff over and over. This is what Tom Williams and Gavin Holmes basically said when they were doing their volume. They would meet together in groups discuss and form battle plans about the volume, what was happening, and the language that it was speaking to other bankers. And we mean banksters, I should say. The elitist type big money movers that move. So this is the money and the prices they started paying. Now, the prices that they started paying are really important because they give us a range. Now, we have a long wick. We got range about from here to here. Okay, so we can see that this is the range of buying. Range of, and I should put this, buying. And we're just breaking this apart in more and more understandable conversations. Okay, from here to here. That's what they paid. So appropriate VZB would be here, volume zone block, which I generally draw in purple, right? When I'm drawing it, would be there. So this is the same volume zone block that I teach you guys all the time. So this would be our VZB volume zone block from here, where the range is at. That's how we can come to those conclusions. Okay, so now we have to calculate something. Buying happens on down bars, down moves, but into health. We cannot confirm that this down move here is actually buying now, even if we have high volume. The volume in that area was high, right? It was pretty high. In fact, sometimes it was just really high. So just draw this and be very realistic about the volume overall as we're at the VZB. So now we're going to be talking about the big. Now that we have these areas, we can give them a label. Areas A, areas B. What is the relationship now between these two, A and B? What is the relationship? The volume relationship. Increase, decrease, equal to. What is it? Anybody? We got to think. Put on your thinking cap. What is the relationship between these two? Nobody? Increase Arshad. It says increase Arshad is correct. Once again, he is correct. Expert analysis person Arshad. You. All right. Increased relationship. Increased relationship means that we are falling under a category. Now we're calculating for buyers, so let's just do this real quickly. I'm going to write down this buyers calculation. So we're going to be using this for buyers, and it's the same legend for buyers or sellers. Absorption / control for a winning condition. That means we win. We have to have what three things? Let's hear them. Somebody unmute your microphone and tell me. And then for a losing condition, we have to have what condition? So we can see who's winning or losing. Okay. Once you guys memorize this, you really don't need, it'll come like second nature. But until then, I'm just teaching over. Okay. The first one is for a winning condition, you need a decrease in volume. Number two, you need aggregately low volume, which is low demand, which is aggregately low. And then finally, we need no demand, which is basically no volume or very low. For a condition of losing, a losing condition, this is winning, this is losing. That's what we teach for months and months and months. Increase in volume, equal to volume, or still aggregately high volume overall. So these two scenarios, if we're calculating for buyers or sellers, in this case we're calculating for buyers, would fall under this category. So in this scenario, we can see that buyers are increasing. Increased volume. So buyers are losing. Okay? Do we get that? Does that make sense? Buyers are losing because the increase in volume. So even if there's buyers, now we understand, okay, great, buyers are here. Are they winning? Yes or no? if we're being honest with ourselves, we will see they're not winning. They're getting swamped by the battle. They need a rest. It doesn't mean they have lost the game, but they're not winning at the moment. And this makes a probable breakout towards the side that they don't want. This is how we're calculating for USDT.D is going to make a big up move. It's more likely, okay? Especially if you get it. So we need, it's telling us we're likely to go down, and then we get the weakness in. And you can see more proof, large wicks that come all the way back down to those areas. So we already, at this point, we would know, hey, they may not be winning the game. This is how I told you guys XRP would go lower. This is how I knew Bitcoin was going to get to the 80s and 90s, by the way. And this is why I went public on YouTube telling everybody those numbers, because I'm giving you guys the same information. And this is why I'm also warning, it's very likely the weather is going to move up in USDT.D and the markets are going to crash. More likelihood if we can get those next triggers. So the trigger we would use would be here. And the data we would use is A and B. And this is the legend. So this is the legend. And this is the scenario right now. So right now, we are in this column. Does that everybody make sense for this crypto? So it doesn't mean it's always going to be the case, but it's the case right now. Okay, so that's the legend. Currently, this is who's winning. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Any questions right now? Superfood says, I want to find out where to get in. All right. When's the next best place he can get in? Okay. Good. Good job, Jeff. Good job. He drew this angle and he just duplicated it as a key angle, and it's phantom. If the markets crash or if this one goes low, he might be looking somewhere down there. So that's somewhere he would want to draw next. That's at least one of the supports. So all we do is duplicate the exact angle that we drew and click it in place. Got it? All right, that's one. Where's another one?
Sorry, I'm on my phone. I don't know how to draw on it. Is there like a mid-phantom between those two? There's a...
Yep. Mid-phantom, and mid-phantoms help calculate all primarily for...
Yeah, that's the one.
Yep, look at. So we have support on both sides with this mid-phantom. Very strong support on both sides. Look at. And now, that's the support. Okay. So this is mid-phantom. Mid-phantoms also stress the importance of what? Starts with this in our art. You guys remember this from lesson Sword Method 5.0? Filming? What is it?
Step ups.
Yes, step ups. Step ups are when we cross over one side, we can draw them. And in Sword Method 6.0, we introduced a new part of step ups, which is we can preemptively draw our step ups. So we can draw them even a little bit sooner. So we can actually see if we crossed over, as we're crossing over, we don't have to hit the other side before we draw that step up. Okay, so we can see that we would have been able to draw a step up. Good job, Alex. Right here, that's our first step up, and that would have been a nice little top for us. And then another step up, we can draw. Where do we cross over again? Here, right there. There's our step up. So this became a top. This became a top. And I think that's all the step ups we got. Yeah, that's all we got. So that's awesome that we can use that. All right, so now one more. There's only one more, and that's going to be, and I'm just going to give you this one because nobody got it. So if all I had was this, I can take this angle and I would draw the key angle here. Now, even though you guys got the mid-phantom, I'm going to also challenge you that this is a local oscillation. So this alone is a bottom based on these smaller energy centers. Okay, so we place it here at the energy center in between those. It stresses this oscillation. So these become bottoms as they are. Okay, now if I was a betting man, because this is a bottom, but it's also mid-phantom, so I'm going to just put MP/phantom. Okay, And I'm going to put parentheses local. Just these are all just keywords. You don't have to label any of them. Just so for my memory's sake and your memory's sake. Because of that, I would say something like I would be looking for health right now. I would be looking for health. If I see big money, but I see them losing, we're in weakness, and rightly, but I would be in the future looking for health because I remember I saw the big players, they're still in. Now they're hurting right now. We know they're hurting because they already paid those prices and we're well below. So they're in pain. So sometimes if they give up there, that's what we talked about in the case of base PEPE. But sometimes they'll just push it right through so they don't have to absorb the supply. That's what Kevin Holmes and Tom Williams discussed in an advanced seminar that they were doing, or in some of their books and series. They were talking about these concepts. And that's a way to manipulate, to appease the pen. In our system, we just call it appeasement. Okay? But in our art, I should say. But what they would actually use is that's the actual psychology and terminology and actual money-making manipulation that they were doing. So they don't always give up. They just go quickly through those areas. It doesn't mean we're in health, so we need a health, and in the future we're going to need one. Now, I would say we can probably fall for a long time. Okay, if we don't get it, we'll know here if there's a weakness. So we're going to be one of the first to know. It'll be underneath there. So we have a support that we can tell us very valuable information. Here, I want to get out. I shouldn't be trading below here. 0005. If I fall farther, and I fall sometime in March, it's going to be about that price. 3017. Current price is 307. So that's a huge drop. It is massive. 200%. 283%. So this needs a savior, doesn't it? Short-term local health would be good enough to get me back up there. And it'll be this angle here. Let's give it a separate color. I'll give it this light blue color. And I can draw more appropriately like this. And then I need two healths. A health to get me there. And I need a health also to get me above there. This is where the real bullishness starts. And I'll see if I can put some words in here. Real bullish area currently. Or main bullish, maybe that would be a better area. And this is short term. Short-term bullish. I like on Wednesdays because I can slow down and teach you guys some of these things. This is going to be where weakness occurs under here, and you'll know it. So you'll be the first to know how to navigate this because you'll see it in real time. The big players are still in, but right now the territory, since we're already here at this bottom, there's no more shorts. The next short would trigger here. Otherwise, at a top, if you were certain there was an up move that you can cut. But apart from that, that's where, if I was looking for an entry, I would pay once we're here. And if you're just going to fall to a bottom right now, 00017, if you're superfood and you're saying we might have a bullish run right now, if you're bullish, I would say right now. Basically, anywhere these prices, you may get that short-term bounce. But it wouldn't be what I would do. But if you're going to buy it anyway, this is a low. And we may have a rally, even if short-term, and then we may hit the bottom, top, and come back down. So more appropriately, that's the case. If the markets are short-term bullish, that will also do it. If we're long-term bearish, I want to buy it here. I'll just set my low buy order because we're probably going to oscillate because we've been oscillating. Okay?
Hey.
So I would be looking low.
Hey, Jason, you said stuff with previous cryptos in the past when you've been teaching us, and you said, okay, the buyers came in here. You don't think they're getting out here, right?
Yep, I don't think they're getting out.
So with that projection, if they wait, let's say we even hit 3017, what would be a range you think it'd be where they came in at, where they'd be more likely to get out at in terms of profit taking?
If it goes there, they'll be very much in pain. It'd be here.
Okay.
I'll put the price on the board with the little. Yeah. I've seen cases where it's very quick and you'll see like a peak shape and then they just drive it up. And the way they drive that up is right about when they're getting here, you'll see a bullish increase in volume. Okay, or because they throw a lot of money at it, and we have it in our art, we call it pushing volume. You're going to see them try to do it here, because if they don't do that, then these people, all the people who lost money, especially the retail, they're going to add to their positions here they're going to add to the supply by flooding the market with supply. They're going to be like, oh, I just went out too. So they're going to put sell market orders. And so you're going to see that's going to be flooded with supply, and they have to eat that volume up if they're going to go. They have to eat, not the volume, they have to eat the supply up if they want to keep going the rally to continue. So what they'll do is often, that's why you see pushes. They throw a lot of money on it, basically overnight, just to get these guys back, to stop them from selling. They're going to be like, oh, okay, we'll just continue. So see if that happens. You'll see a sharp move. If you see this just slow and it's taking its time, the longer it takes, you're going to see this get slammed down again. And it'll just look like the downtrend and hunting those up moves, more of those. So watch for that area. That's where they bought. That's where they lost money. There may not be in pain. They're in pain right now, but it may not be the worst, because they could still be very optimistic. Okay, if they were them and they say, you know what, let's just buy some more. This is the next best place to buy based on its current trend. So there may be some more money, like we saw in base PEPE in the photos. Base PEPE, we saw some more money starting to come in, but no health to confirm the more buying. So it's very possible that they're saying, we'll buy the dip, and that's, in that context, it's actually good for them to buy the low on the down move. But again, they play the long game. We don't have to play the long game. All right. So you guys learned a lot. Any other questions regarding base PEPE? Okay. How we would want to navigate the situation. We definitely need a health to trade this, or even think about it going bullish. But if we're going to buy it anyway, to add to our positions, I'd pick this one personally. When the market crashes, that's probably going to get hit easy. If you're bullish this project, you're probably going to do very well, especially with cryptos that have professional buying in the background.
I have one more general question. Sorry, and it's not for charting, but it does involve a term you probably know that I don't quite understand. I heard a prophetic guy share something about margin calls in general. Sorry, don't have a financial background. How would that apply to just cryptos in general if margin calls were to start happening?
Wow, what a great question. I will answer your question in just a moment then. I'm going to first put on the final comments for TDROP. All right, okay. So we can see large players enter in September 2023. We can see lack of profit taking. This means large traders are still in the game as of February 2025. This crypto has signs that buyers have been losing as the volume increased in April 2025. Currently, the low supports may be hit. Buyers, large players, are also now in losing conditions. As I shouldn't say, don't want to use the word losing, even though that's the right word. I'm currently using winning and losing in the terms of the buying context that I've already taught you. So as to not confuse you, I'm going to say large players are also now in pain. This is because price is lower currently than the range they paid for these cryptos, or this crypto. If it goes lower and stays down there longer, this stresses the supply at, and the number was 0.0011 area. That's what Alex asked. This area may get swamped with supply. However, if in the future, and this is how we can calculate years off, guys, if in the future we see a large up candle on high volume closing above 0.011 area, this could be bullish pushing. Look for higher prices. Then look for higher prices. In addition, since there is no current health, buying this is dangerous at this time. Local health triggers, and the number is, so you guys can take bullish trades on this, generally above that number, 0008. 00085 towards 0.11, 0011, and that's that 11 number, and above 16. So that's when you guys are going to want to try to catch this crypto. 10016. Otherwise, 0.00059 and 0.00017 are supports. Weakness occurs below 0.00059. All right, that's going to be an in-depth analysis regarding this crypto. Take a screenshot. Hope you guys learned stuff. You can use this map or these arrows to help you gauge importance. Okay, so right now we're just bouncing around here. There's no real trade, but there could be a bullish trade from here to here only. And then we need a push primarily above this area so we can get, that's the real bullish area currently. That number will go down over time, but those numbers are on the board for everybody to see. Okay, so I would leave this alone at the moment. Before I do the last crypto for today, let's answer Alex's question. Margin call. Margin call is when we're leveraged in a position and you are allowed a certain amount of money. For example, if I have a $10,000 account and I put down $900,000, let's see. Oh, I got to do margin first. If I have a $10,000 account, my exchange may let me take bullish positions beyond that $10,000. It'll let me borrow maybe 20 or even more thousand, depending on how leveraged I am. I can take a bullish position and I can make a lot of money in a short time. I can make $20, $10, $30,000 if price moves just a little bit in that right direction. But if it goes in the wrong direction, you can lose a lot of money real quick. And the exchange doesn't think you can pay back $90,000. So what they're going to do is they have a certain percentage where you go in the negative up to your capital. It's going to be like up to the capital. And if you get beyond that capital, your initial capital, which is your initial $10,000, then you're going to go into the negative. So what happens if people have a $10,000 account, they'll trade like $1,000 for the trade itself. And in that trade, they're leveraged 10x. That means if price goes up, Bitcoin goes up, they get 10 times the profit they would normally get just by holding it. So instead of holding it and taking the money in between, they're betting and they're borrowing money in a sense that it will go up. And so when they borrow 10 times the amount, and it moves up, they get to collect that profit. However, if it goes into the negative, they have to pay back that money, and the exchange will say, no, we don't think you can pay it back. You can only pay us back up to whatever you allotted to your margin account, which is in futures. You can have margin there and just in margin side, which basically they operate the same way. You can change your margin leverage. So once it starts going in, up to that $10,000, there's a certain point when you don't have any more money to go in the negative. So if Bitcoin's not moving up yet and it's going down, it'll show you have a negative account. Now, if you close the transaction, you'll close out with a loss. And because you're margin trading, your losses will be greatly increased by 10. So instead of making $12,000, you're starting to lose up to $12,000 on your $10,000 account. So you're losing a lot. But you don't just lose 10,000 right away. It goes to like negative 100, negative 200, negative 300, 400, 500. There's a certain point when you hit a certain amount of negativity that your exchange can hit up to your current $10,000, and then you're blocked off. Now, this works the same whether you have $100 and you're trading a few dollars or $1,000. It doesn't matter. They all have a margin call limit based on how much your initial capital is. So When you have a margin call, it closes your position. Now, Alex was asking the question is, how do margin calls factor into the larger market story? If I was a betting man, right, and I took a bullish position here, and I didn't want to just buy the stock outright, but I want to bet. So I borrow money, a lot of money, betting that it's going to go up. But what happened, and especially when it goes up, I'm like, woohoo! But if I didn't take profit when I was supposed to, all right, based on previous data, I may now be back to normal, and then I'm like, okay, I'm fine. And then it starts going to here. This is 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. When I reach that limit, my bank will force me to put all that stock into the market. So I'm holding it here, and it forced me to sell it. So there's offerings of supply here. If prices are here and nobody takes the offering, the price keeps going lower and lower, and then it'll just sell it as what's called a at market order. Now, the banks for margin calls are not so generous. It's almost always an at market order. They won't just put it on the market. They just say, hey, whatever the at market is, that's what you're going to pay. And when that happens, prices are generally driven down into more and more bearish territories. So if in mass, lots of people start losing money, then they're either going to close the position themselves at a appropriate time. They're going to close the position themselves and then put more offerings, or the margin will force them to put the supply. So when you have that, if a lot of people got margined here, it makes all of these previous areas much more difficult to go through because people are just trying to break even, and then margin calls keep swamping price down. As people lose money, it moves faster and faster. And this is why they say about the whole banks, the banks are margined on silver because they're betting that silver will be low. So every time silver is going high, they're losing money every single month in options contracts, and they're borrowing, they're leveraged. They operate similar, although options are a little bit different because they have an expiry. They have similar nature in that they're limited. You can only go so far into the negative before you have to close the position and buy back your position. So if they're short betting, they have to buy back. If you're buying, you have to sell. That means you put supply on. If you're buying, you have to buy the supply, and you can drive up. So silver, the higher it stays, the more the banks have to keep adding and buying silver. So it makes the market go even up higher and more and more and more until the market finds an equilibrium. So this is why they lose control faster and faster, and you'll see the market for silver just keep going higher and higher, because the more longer it stays, the higher it goes up if they're betting to the downside. So they have to reverse their position, in other words. So I hope that kind of makes sense. That's a little bit of a complicated analysis, but it's basically more or less how margin calls a factor into market. Okay.
Very helpful. Thank you. I don't know any of that, so thank you. Helpful.
No problem. Margin.
Yeah, I can share just a little bit on that. When I was young, I got shorted out and had margin calls. And at that time, if you have money, you can send money in. You can just keep putting money in until finally you don't have any more money to put in. And then they execute your trade.
Yep.
And now, just a warning, guys, in Uphold, you can trade with cash that you have in your account, but you can also link your bank account to it. And your bank account may have an overdraft. So if you're in one of these positions and they start squeezing you, they will take your crypto and start selling it. They'll even tap into your bank account and perhaps even your overdraft in your bank account. So we have to be careful.
Yep. Yeah. Anyone who doesn't want to have your trade executed, they're going to say, hey, you better add more money or your trade's going to expire in the margin. So you could throw money at it and then you give yourself another buffer room. If price goes lower than that, they'll do the same thing. And this is how people throw good money after bad. This is why the banks tried to do when they were shorting. They would bet even harder just to try to suppress the price. But the more they lost and didn't win that suppression bet, the more they added to the position, good money after bad. So it makes for an even faster up market. Now, the reason you've seen in silver, and I'll just pull up a quick volatility chart of silver so you guys can see it. This is on a monthly chart, guys. This is the battle that's been going on for silver for a long time. I think me and Armin were talking about, was it here, February 2024? Somewhere around here, I was telling I was in a meeting with his son who was asking seriously about silver. And you could see this is a weekly chart, how many up and down, up, down, up, down, up, down. For a long time, silver's been suppressed in these areas. Even when it tried to break out, it was trying to be suppressed. How many times did we challenge this bottom? So a lot of volatility. To the human eye, it would look like silver's doing a whole lot of nothing. If we didn't have charts, if we didn't have our art, we'd just see, oh man, we've been here before. But really a huge breakout was occurring. And over time, precious metals are one of the most suppressed markets in the world. So it's now moving quickly because the math is that after 30, and other analysis people have done it, but after $30, I think it's like 32, the banks can't hold it anymore. So you see a huge quick move up to those highs. So we saw our first big move up to 46 based on the oscillation. You can easily see those areas. And the next one, 65, I think we just hit it. So that's the one we called. My target's been hit. So yeah, that's what I have for silver. So easy to see. Okay, easy to see. You guys will learn this kind of stuff because manipulation happens everywhere and you guys will get better at reading it. Okay. Let's go to the last stock or the last crypto, FXY. Christian, are you there? I asked him earlier which one it was. So I'll have to put it up for next time because there's this one, it's FluxPay, and the chart doesn't really make any sense. So I'll put this image and I'll say, please contact me, Christian, for FXY, okay? All right, let's say prayer, and I'll be back to answer any final questions. Father, we thank you for helping us to see things. In your scripture, in your word, discussing prophetic and events in the future, you had said, this calls for a man of wisdom and understanding. We are your children, and we ask you for wisdom because the Bible says, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives graciously and generously. Father, we ask for wisdom. Every person in here, Lord, we ask for a wisdom anointing. Show us how to read things because the lesson is not just for today, what's happening this month and this season, but rather the stewardship that we need for our character, the skills we need for our character. For all the billions and trillions of dollars you're going to pour out on your people. We need some of these basic skills. It would be a great tragedy, a great travesty if we have billions and millions and trillions and we're only going like the wind to and fro. That we are only trading or following some YouTube gurus. It would be a great travesty if we didn't have some kind of semblance of wisdom ourselves. There's going to be many millionaires and billionaires. And it may even go to our heads, as with such come with the battles of having lots of money. But even if I pray that you would couple it with great wisdom for each man and woman here. Because they need it. It's your money, and the Lord giveth, and the Lord can take it away. Now, whether you give or take it away, that's not for us to squibble or quabble about. Our job is to do a good job with whatever you give us, especially when you ask for an accounting of it. For it is said that you gave a parable, to one you gave 1, to one you gave 5, and another you gave 10. But to he who had more than 10, he was faithful with it, and so you blessed him in much. And even when the world got mad at him and said, but sir, he already has more, you said yes, and he who has more will be given more, and he who does not have, what little he has will be taken away. You were looking for faithfulness in the innermost parts. And so, Lord, we ask that you would make us to be faithful in the innermost part. Not just faithful with our tithe and offering. Not just faithful in our ministry and mission, but faithful with your resource as well. With whatever you give us. And today, we're talking about the little wisdom you have given us. The trading or the time, the cryptos, the stocks, the millions and billions you will give. Let us be faithful with it. Let us multiply it. Let us not be frivolous with it. Let us be and use wisdom. These things will be of utmost paramount when billions and millions are on the line. So now, right now, while we're in Potiphar's house and managing another person's house, right now, Lord, while we are at the bottom of the well praying to you, right now, while we are in the prison house and in prison, in our lowliest of places in these seasons, right now, Lord, train us and develop the Joseph within us. We all are like Joseph being trained, because overnight we will come into the house of Pharaoh and may be ruler of the house. Right now, soon it is coming for these great and many mighty people to walk into the house of Pharaoh, so they would have needed to know how to thrive during the years of famine and abundance, so that the abundance won't change us. We love you, Lord. Thank you for these things that you are preparing your children, your people for. Thank you for these seasons. Thank you for our children. Thank you for our wives and our homes and our warm homes. Thank you for even the simplest things like a blanket, for there are those who are on the streets tonight. Thank you for our bellies with some food, even if it's not abundance, because many have no food. We thank you for all the good things you've done for us, and we fail not to give you the glory. In Jesus' name, amen. I'll be back, my friends, on Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you all of those who sent us a gift, tithe, and offering. There's links in our videos if you guys want to support our ministry for what we're doing so we can continue this great work. We thank you all for all that you've done. You guys know who you are. And I challenge you, there won't be WordRoom this Sunday. I challenge you, if you missed the Sunday message this past Sunday, listen to it. It's called For Jesus and Also Us. And I hope that message very much blesses you. I'll be right back. God bless you.